So 50 Things to Do Before You're 5 is a fantastic tool and framework that many of you will know about. And in Wakefield, we've been really pleased to have it. We've had a lot of services and partners involved in it so far. And hopefully today you'll get a flavour of how we've used it in Wakefield. I hope that if you are currently a 50 Things champion, that you go away with some new ideas, some refreshed energy, and you're excited to go back and implement a little bit more within your service. If you're currently not a 50 Things champion, then I hope that you can sign up by the end of the day, okay? So, without further ado, we'll get started. I'll stop talking, calm the nerves a little bit. And we have our first speaker today, and we are very lucky to have Cabinet Member of Children and Young People, Councillor Margaret Isherwood.
Thank you. Good morning. It's great to see so many people here. I mean, 50 Things to Do Before You're 5 is so very important to our young people. It's
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So yes, I'm Councillor Margaret Isherwood, I'm portfolio holder for children and young people, and I find it amazing, this actual project. So I'm here today to start it off. It's a bit like what we're trying to do for our children is to give them the best start in life, and hopefully the people here today who aren't actually already involved will decide it's something they really want to do. So, best start in life, it's a phrase we hear a lot, it's a phrase we use a lot, and the purpose of that phrase is to look at our children and say they all deserve the best start in life, wherever they are, wherever they come from, and that's the purpose of this project. It's recognised that the first 5 years of a child's life are very important. The early experiences and relationships during this time are critical for their development. And in early years, a children's main way of learning and developing is through play. But they can also be influenced by their experience of food, physical activity, health and community, which can all set a pattern for their future lives. This is why, as a local authority, we saw the benefits of 50 Things to Do Before You're 5. It's a programme that can enhance communication skills, strengthen the adult-child bond, and overall guide families to engage in invaluable childhood experiences. Back in May 2020, Wakefield invested in the programme. As we were in the midst of COVID, it was a great opportunity to offer fantastic tools for families at that time and to support them through those very tough times. 50 Things was actually launched in Wakefield in July 2020, and there was a great deal of interest in the app at that time, and with some clever marketing and some superb partnership work, the 50 Things began to grow, and it's now become embedded in everything we do. 50 Things has highlighted the assets and opportunities available to our families. It has brought many organisations and services together to give common goals of supporting those families who need our help, to get children school ready, and to give them positive, healthy outcomes. The value of 50 Things has become a priority in our early years strategy, a universal tool in speech, language and communication, and an indicator in our health and well-being strategy. We have now reached over 4,300 downloads, and we are extremely grateful to all our partners, without whom this would not be possible. We are now reaching 20% of our under 5s, and I think that's absolutely amazing in such a short space of time that we managed to do that. So, on behalf of Wakefield Council and the children of the district, I would like to thank those that have been involved so far and welcome those of you who are here to find out more, and we hope you will be inspired to join our 50 Things family on our journey supporting the under-5s and their families. So thank you very much. I hope you have a wonderful time, and I hope everybody joins up at the end of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Oh, Cllr.
So you have to say next slide. Yes.
Okay, I did want to just say as well, obviously we've got speakers for about an hour, and then we've got a good 45 minutes where you guys are going to be able to check out all the stalls, get lots of freebies, and do a little bit of networking and a bit of mapping as well. So you're not going to be sat down for ages, okay? Just relax, enjoy yourselves and have fun, okay? So our next speaker is Andrea Layzell. This lady, 50 Things to Do Before 5 was developed in Bradford originally, and this lady is the driving force of that development, and in terms of pushing it out wider to different local authorities and different areas. And she's been a massive support to Wakefield as we've got involved in 50 Things. So, please welcome Andrea Layzell.
I don't often get introduced as a lady, that's quite a thing, isn't it? Thank you so much, Angie. Oh, Cllr. Oh, this is really going to confuse me. Does it matter which button?
Do you want me to do that?
Just the one to the right.
Look,
Oh.
oh, technology is not too worrying. Can I first tell you a bit about me? Because the good bits that Angie told you are not the whole story. I actually started my early years interest well over 30 years ago here in Wakefield, when my eldest son was born at Manygates, which is no longer in existence. I think it's luxury apartments or something, isn't it? Same happens to everything. But I've realised throughout my career in early years, and I've done an awful lot of different projects, that my real passions are for 2-year-olds. There's nothing terrible about 2-year-olds, they're absolutely fabulous. Under 5s, early years generally, but also working in a really respectful way with parents. So, as Angie said, I'm based in a maintained nursery school, St Edmund's Nursery School, in a disadvantaged area of Bradford. We've got a really strong relationships with our communities, with our parents, with extended families. It's a diverse community. We've always tried to work really hard with them. So when we recognised that lots of our children were coming into nursery with fairly limited experience from loving homes but didn't get out and about very much, we kind of thought, oh, we'll do a bucket list. We'll do something like that. That would be really exciting. And then we managed to get some national funding. And then we decided we could roll it out across the whole of the Bradford district. But before we did that, we actually talked to parents. We asked them what sort of things should every child under 5 have the opportunity to try before they enter mainstream school. And we ended up with, I think, 543 original ideas, which was slightly terrifying because the app would have been massive. But we whittled that down, we snuck some in, we managed to get 50 things that we thought covered the full range of those first 5 years, covered a curriculum that was exciting, that was interesting, that was not dominated by anybody's political view, but supported practitioners, settings, providers, teachers, parents, grandparents, to think about some of those really easy ideas about what can we do with the children today. And we've had some wonderful feedback from all sorts of people, including very, very talented, knowledgeable, enthusiastic parents who've said, actually, some mornings I wake up and I think I've no idea what I'm going to do with these kids today. So they've used the app, they've used the poster, they've used the cards for inspiration. But we've also had lovely feedback from settings, from people who've seen that 50 Things can be a tool to engage in a really practical way with their families, with their parents that bring their children, where they can improve the home learning environment or just enhance it. So once we got some grant funding, we thought, well, why not talk to other local authorities, see if they might be interested in joining in. So we've currently got contracts with 20 local authorities where we've got a couple that are working towards launching. We've got many conversations that are going on at the moment. Start for Life, where there is a requirement to look at the home learning environment. And I know that here in Wakefield, because I've had conversations around the room, you've recognised that actually already having 50 things means that you're well equipped with a tool that will support that work in an ongoing way. Partnership work has been at the heart of everything that we've done with 50 Things to Do Before You 5. Started as partnerships with parents, partnerships with practitioners, partnerships with experts, so we've worked with speech and language therapists, we've worked with health visitors, we've managed to get, we think, a resource that works, but we haven't stopped there. With our partners and with every new partner, we've found that we've brought in knowledge, expertise, skills and interests and new, refreshed enthusiasm for different aspects of 50 Things in a different way that this tool can be used. Now, Angie is one of those key partners. She attends one of our monthly meetings on a regular basis, and along with others, brings her expertise to the table. So that health improvement perspective, which was something that we didn't have before Wakefield joined us, and we're really grateful for that perspective. But we've got contracts in Sheffield that are hosted by Family Learning, who said, but this is our curriculum, this is what we do. Public Health own it and hold it in Cldr, working closely with children's centres and health visitors. In East Sussex, Kirklees, Cambridge, Oxfordshire, Birmingham, Warwickshire, it's held by the early years teams. And we kind of assumed it was always going to be early years. But children's centres in Southwark are rolling that out in a proportional universalism approach where everybody can access 50 Things, but it's got a real focus on some areas, some families, without it being, we only want to work with you because you're one of those parents. Now, what I really didn't want when we decided on a universal approach is that anybody was going to judge parents, that we weren't wanting to offer something to make people feel that, oh, you only get this because you're one of those parents. I've had awful days where I know that my parenting skills have been somewhat lacking. I defy anybody in the room to say I've always been the perfect parent. And I think, professionally, if we can help and support anybody who's involved with the under fives to support their development and ongoing growth and ongoing excitement about the things that matter in this world, then we should all be doing it. And if 50 Things can be a tool for that, then I'm delighted. We've recently been joined by a multi-academy trust who decided that they wanted to reach out not just to the families that use their schools, but actually to the whole families within the community. We've got a provider of an education contract in Hertfordshire. We've got a whole government when the island of Jersey joined us, which is quite astonishing because I think they've got a little over 6 children on the island. Anyway, we've also got library services who are holding the contract in Suffolk, and they seem to be hubs for a lot of the partnership work that I know happens already here in Wakefield. And talking to Angie, I'm massively envious of the support that she has from marketing, from libraries, from recycling services, from her extended team. And I think this is why, to the previous speaker, the councillor, who said, how wonderful is that, over 4,000 downloads already. I think this is why. It's such a joined up approach, it's wonderful. And focusing on disadvantage in Norfolk, because that was funded through a particular pot of money that was aimed at disadvantaged families. But I've talked briefly about partnerships and how important they are. The national partnerships are incredibly important, but we also continue to have partnerships which I know Angie does, because I know with the wonderful story trails that you've got, I understand there's 4 of them around Wakefield, they inspired us wonderfully. But one of our partnerships is working with our museum service and parks departments, and I know we've got a speaker a little later on from your museum service. Shortly after COVID, one of our targets, really, one of our aims, was to support families to recognise it was safe to come out. We'd spent over a year telling small children and parents the world is a dangerous place, and then suddenly expected that it was going to be all right to open your doors and come out. We talked to our museum service because we had a recent bid in Bradford for the City of Culture 2025 that we won. We were quite pleased. We really were very chuffed. But part of the work from the museum service, they wanted to engage with families who culturally, within their family culture, didn't think that museums were for them. We've got some fabulous museums in Bradford. The one I want to talk about is Cartwright Hall, purpose-built, in beautiful parkland, absolutely stunning. It has got the most fabulous entrance that you could imagine, with beautiful, huge wooden doors surrounded by glass. There's also a great echo if you want to try shouting shh just outside the door. But this door, in and of itself, is a huge barrier to some families. If you don't know what's going to be expected of you at the other side of that door, are you going to venture through it? Will they ask me for money? Will my 2-year-old be welcome here? Will I find something that's interesting to me? Will I feel that I'm getting it wrong? You can understand why people don't want to venture in, don't you? So, our agenda was we wanted to get families out and about. Their agenda was they wanted to encourage families to recognise that they would be very welcome in our museums. So we set up Walk, Talk, Discover and Draw, 45 minutes, once a week, for 4 or 5 weeks, depending on where we were in the term. And we started it at about 9:15, so families had time to do the school run or the playgroup run. And we wanted to offer something that parents felt, I can do that, so I can walk and push the pushchair. I can discover what might be available in the parkland around this museum, because it's open, I can see what's expected of me, and I might find some exciting things. So, walking, talking to people that you haven't seen for a while but in the outdoors, discovering the secret bits of the park around Cartwright Hall. Like there's a tunnel, and there's a bandstand that's usually chained off, but our project officer now has a key to the chains, so we can use the bandstand. And to draw. So we had a community artist who works with the maintained nursery schools in Bradford, Lou, who was inspiring. And Rachel, our project officer, and Lou were a really wonderful partnership in supporting families, supporting children not to be scared of strangers. Going back to this idea we've been telling these very small children, the world's a dangerous place for a long time. And the plan was that in this 4 or 5 weeks, we'd have 45 minutes where we'd walk around, we'd follow the children's lead, because we follow the children's interest wherever we can, and with skilled practitioners, we extend those interests and inspire them even further. And the idea was that on the final visit, when these parents or grandparents or childminders or practitioners who joined in knew each other, knew the people who were leading the group, that they would be taken into the museum within a safe, smaller community. So this felt much less threatening. And one of the really wonderful stories was we managed to get the bandstand open, so Lou found an enormous piece of paper, and all the children, and many of the adults, added their piece of art to this enormous piece of artwork that almost filled the bandstand. And then the following week, we met outside the doors, and the families were taken in. And the staff in the museum had taken this large piece of fabulous inspired artwork and curated it on a wall in one of the galleries. Now, I'm not sure that there is a better way to say to children and families, this is your place. You are welcome here. We want to know what you can bring in to us. So that's been a really successful partnership. So Wakefield partnerships. What has Wakefield brought to the national project? So we've got, hang on while I flick. I knew I should have put it on postcards. Can you still hear me at the back? Oh, excellent. Thank you for nodding. Okay, so demonstrating the potential of 50 things. used as a tool across services, really successful, with high levels of support from the local authority and from director level downwards. Bringing that health improvement perspective to our 50 Things offer, for which we're really grateful. Initiating engagement models, working with early years providers to have those 50 Things champion, which all sorts of authorities are going to wait and see how it goes and steal from them, because we think it's a great idea. Supporting us by showcasing the work in Wakefield, speaking at our webinars that we held during the pandemic, where we all sat in front of screens trying to engage with others. Illustrating the impact of available 50 Things user data when reviewed alongside local authority data on population and the community. And Angie's done a really great piece of work in bringing all that together. Now data, this is going to sound so nerdy, but data can be really exciting and interesting. There's not much point to 50 Things if people are going to download it and think, oh yeah, I knew that, and immediately offload it. But where you can see that it's being used with communities, but also where it isn't being used with communities. So Angie's wider team can go into that community. So the museum service can see where maybe that community is not engaging with museums. Maybe the parks department or other departments can see, oh well, our hashtag isn't really being used there. We can go out to that community. And sharing your outstanding work undertaken with other agencies for the benefit of young children and their families. And I think I'm right in saying that everybody here today works outrageously underpaid for the benefit of our youngest children and their families. And for that, I would like to thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrea.
Next slide.
Next slide. Okay. Thank you. And that I asked Andrea to talk about the walk talk.
Discover and draw.
Discover and draw. Because it might again just give you a little idea of what you might want to do with your service, with your setting. Because I go to these national meetings and I take snippets from different authorities of what they've done. But there's only me and I can't do everything, so it's really great for you guys to hear and maybe take a little bit of influence from what other areas are doing. Okay, so next up we just spoke about the early years champions, who there's a lot of you guys here and thank you so much for being champions. We have Sarah Berry from Wrenthorpe Academy, where my son goes. Sarah was actually teaching my son last year, but apart from that, and it loved it. But these guys were absolutely amazing at implementing 50 Things within their setting, and Sarah's going to just talk through the process that they used to implement it, so again you guys can take it away. We have got all these slides we will send out electronically, okay, so you don't have to panic and scribble down everything. Okay, so Sarah Berry.
Which button is it?
Right.
The right one.
Good morning, hi. Yeah, so obviously I've just been sort of thinking about what the other ladies have been talking about. 50 Things is very much early years, and obviously being a reception teacher, that's the older end of the early years. We obviously our children come to us at the age of 4, some of them straight away turn 5 in September, so it's kind of like, even though it's 50 things to do before you're 5, you know, those 5-year-olds that have their birthday in September, they're still with us for the rest of their early years curriculum right up until July. So obviously we wanted to implement it for our children. We could, as soon as we found out about it, we could straight away see the benefits of it. So yeah, so even though it's reception, it's the older end of early years, we've been able to really link it into our curriculum. So I'm just I'm going to kind of go through step by step how we implemented it. For some of you it might seem really obvious, for some of you it might hopefully give you some ideas. But basically our first step was meeting Angie. My colleague who I work with, Sally, I think she went to, was it like an early years
One of the webinars.
presentation? Yeah, webinar. So Sally had joined the webinar heard all about 50 Things for the first time, and she came back to me and she was explaining it to me, and we were both like, oh my goodness, this sounds absolutely amazing. This is what our children need, having just come out of COVID. You know, I'm sure you've all seen over recent years that, you know, there are children out there, quite a high proportion of children with, you know, they don't have the experiences that we would think that they might get. So we were really keen to implement it. So yeah, we first heard about it, it was June 2021, so that's probably about a year after you launched it. That was our step one, meeting Angie, talking about it, getting to understand what 50 Things was all about. And then step two, we downloaded the app. We didn't implement it straight away in school because we wanted to just explore it, find out a bit more about it. I used my son as a guinea pig. He was 3, nearly 4, I think. So when I first downloaded the app from a parent's point of view, I was looking at the 50 Things thinking, yeah, well, they've done quite a few of those, but actually there's quite a few that even I've not thought of. And, you know, I'm a teacher, I feel like I should know to do all these things. But there were things like visiting Pontefract Castle. I've never been to Pontefract Castle. I've lived in Wakefield all my life and never been to Pontefract Castle. You know, paper folding. My dad claims to make the best paper aeroplane in the whole of Yorkshire. So giving my little boy the chance to make a paper aeroplane with his granddad, I don't think we'd have thought to do that had I not seen it on the app and gone, oh, light bulb moment. So yeah, exploring the app was really good fun actually for me as a parent. And then straight away as a teacher, I was thinking, oh, there's so many things we can do with this in school for all our children. So yeah, we were really impressed with the variety of the activities, the opportunities for meaningful and memorable real life experiences that, like I say, a lot of children unfortunately don't get, but obviously having this platform provides those opportunities. So then step 3, I had to just find on Google Images that picture of the mind map, but if you saw the mind map that we actually wrote out between myself and Sally at school, it was the scruffiest piece of paper you've ever seen. I did want to try and find the original mind map that we first drew, because even though it was scruffy, it was obviously meaningful and it was useful. But we literally just had complete, you know, just so many different ideas that we'd scribbled down on a piece of paper. Unfortunately, I couldn't find that. I think it was tucked in the back of a folder somewhere. But yeah, so that was our next step. We were brainstorming all our ideas about how to implement it and use it within our early years curriculum, obviously tailoring it to the 4 and 5 year olds. So part of our brainstorming, we looked at our topics that we cover throughout our reception year in school. Just to give it a bit of context for you, we have 6 topics, so we do a topic each half term from September to July. We have, first topic's called Marvellous Me, so it's finding out about the children and what their interests are. Our next topic is Let's Celebrate, so we look at lots of different religious celebrations. Then our next one is Arctic Animals, looking at different habitats and obviously the contrast between Arctic and Antarctic, the weather conditions compared to the UK and things like that. We have a superhero topic where we're looking at local heroes, you know, people like doctors, nurses, police officers, things like that. Obviously there's a key one in there, isn't there, about high-fiving a police officer, and even posties, like posting a letter and things like that. There's some really, really good parts of the 50 Things that link to that topic. We've got Prehistoric Planet, mainly looking at dinosaurs, because obviously the boys love that, and obviously linking in with local history and what have you. And then we have What a Wonderful World, so it's learning about life cycles, plants, insects, animals. Again, lots of things there that link in with the 50 Things for us. So we looked at how we could link all the 50 Things into those topics. Trying to fit 50 individual activities into 6 topics is obviously a huge task. So we had to kind of look through, I'll just go on to our next slide here. Our step 4 was looking through our long-term plans and thinking, actually, we don't want to just sort of sporadically try and fit all these 50 things into the whole year. We want to, you know, link it in with everything that we've got going on. But yeah, like I say, it was hard to try and fit every single activity into those 6 topics. Some of them linked really well, like exploring the cold. Explore the cold, it says, doesn't it, on the app. That linked in really well with our Arctic Animals. Like I say, high-fiving a police officer linked in really well with the superheroes. The activity that's the We Bang Whiz one linked in with Let's Celebrate, because we were looking at bonfire night and the fireworks, and then also Diwali, big with it being there, celebration of light and things like that. But there were some activities that were not harder to fit in, but things like wheels on the bus. We couldn't really link that into one of our topics because it relied on us getting on the bus with the children, which we've got 45. Trying to get 45 onto just sort of an Arriva bus is difficult. And also things like See It Live. We didn't really have an opportunity to take our children to the theatre. So certain parts of it, what we decided in the end was we could probably fit about 5 or 6 of the activities into each of our topics and send it as a homework activity for the children. And then there were other things like the activity that's linking with exploring sand and exploring water. We thought actually they're linking quite nicely with our provision anyway. So once we'd sort of planned it all in and we'd spoken to our parents, we came up with, these are our sheets here on the left hand side, we came up with specific activities for each half term, like I say, about 4 or 5 or 6 depending on the length of the half term, because we have some half terms that are 8 weeks long and some half terms that are 5 weeks long. So depending on how long the half term was, we would try and get the right amount of activities to fit in with that. And then this little picture at the bottom here, this was on the back of the homework sheet. So this left-hand side here are all the activities that we actually just linked in with our continuous provision during the day when we were in school with the children. So things like squidgy sand, sharing books, dressing up, mini artists, they're all things that the children do in the dressing up area, in the creative area, things that just kind of naturally happen anyway, and obviously we can push those areas of 50 things within our curriculum. And then we had a box at the other side there that says additional activities. So we've got See It Live, the wheels on the bus, and sea and sand in there. Obviously a day trip to the seaside, we can't accommodate that necessarily with the children. So that's the sort of thing that we put on the back of the sheet and we said to the parents, we had a little message typed on there that just said, these are the sorts of things that might take you as parents a little bit longer to plan and prepare at home. If you're going to go see something live, you need to pre-book your tickets. If you're going to go to the seaside, you need to find a weekend when you're not taking your children to karate or dancing or swimming. So they're the sorts of things that we felt we couldn't quite fit into our expectations for the parents to do as homework, but we had that as just an additional opportunity for them. Something that, like I say, needs pre-planning, but something that we still welcome them to have a go at doing. So that was how we shared our homework. So each half term, we'd send home those sheets with the activities on. Angie was really helpful at giving us some suggestions of the bullet points there underneath each picture so that the parents had a bit more of an idea of where to take it. Also obviously encourage the parents to download the app and tick the activities off as they were doing them. So we generally felt like we had a whole academic year's worth of being able to fit in all 50 activities, whether it's done in school, within provision, at home, within homework, or like I say, those additional activities that the parents could plan to do in their own time. So then step 5, that's those sort of pictures in the middle there. This was us just sharing the opportunities with the children. So we used an app, I don't know if you've heard of Evidence Me before. We did start off with Evidence Me last year, we've moved on to Seesaw this year, it's still effectively the same thing. So the parents would be able to share the children's experiences and share the homework that they've done by uploading pictures, uploading videos, and then we could share those with the children, which was really lovely to do it in school time on the interactive whiteboard. We also created this display where we've got all the 50 things dotted around and examples that we've printed off of the children, like we've got a little girl there meeting the police officers, we've got a little boy who's making musical instruments with things that he's got at home. We've got one of the children there blowing out his candles on his birthday cake, because obviously one of the activities is looking at blowing, things like that. So it was really nice, we just had that little person cut out like it is on the logo, and just had an opportunity there to display it in school, as well as obviously showing the children on the interactive whiteboard all the photos and the videos that the parents were uploading. So that was a really nice way of sort of sharing those successes and also encouraging more of the children to join in, because I know obviously in some instances there are some families who might not get on board straight away, But then for those children, seeing seeing their peers up on the screen, they'd go home and say to mum and dad, oh, please can you put the pictures on of when we went to the park or when we went and did our midnight walk, because I want to show my teacher, I want to show my friends. So that also helped to get a bit more engagement from the families who might not have got on board immediately. So that was a really nice opportunity as well. And then our step 6, right towards the end, Angie came and delivered us a load of certificates. So at the end of the year, lots of our children had completed lots of the activities. We could see a really big impact. And the thing that was nice as well that was parents coming to us and saying, oh, we've really enjoyed doing that as well as the children. You know, it's creating these lovely opportunities for the parents to enjoy with the children, those really memorable learning opportunities. So at the end it was really lovely. We had 45 copies of the certificates to write the children's name on. There was a section at the bottom where we could write down how many of the activities each child had completed, but in the end we decided to just put, your child has completed lots of the 50 things. Because to go through all 45 children and actually count how many they've done, we just thought, oh gosh, that's going to be impossible on top of everything else that you've got to do. So, you know, every child had that real pride of taking the certificate home, knowing that they'd completed lots of those activities. And it was just a really nice little treat to give them towards the end of the year. I haven't got on there step 7 because this is our next step for us at my school to implement. You've given us a 50 things bear, haven't you?
Oh, yeah.
For the children to take home. And I'm sure you've done similar things like this before, you know, when the children take a bear home for the weekend and they photograph all the things that they've done and then bring it back to tell the children everything about it. So we have got our bears ready to go. We've not got around to doing it just yet. But it's something that we're going to look at hopefully doing in January, just after Christmas time. But yeah, so that's basically our story of where we started and how we've, our journey of how we've implemented 50 things. We've found it really, really beneficial for myself as a parent, for myself as a teacher, for all the children in our community and the parents in our community. It has been a really, really wonderful opportunity for us to get on board with. So thank you, Angie, for telling us about it, and thank you everybody for listening. I hope that's been helpful. I've still got your clip.
And I do believe that this cutout here, this child, is actually the average size of a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
So Sally told me.
Yeah.
So extra little touch of something there. Yeah, so fantastic. Just a really good way of implementing it. And all these resources as well, I do believe I've shared it with you guys before, but again, we can send them out. And the reason we just did it like that is because we appreciate that on the app there is quite a lot of text. So I just kind of went through and I bullet pointed 3 or 4 activities that they could do rather than them having to go onto the app and read it all. So again, just making it as simple and as easy as possible. Not that the app isn't. Okay, so these next 2, that's you guys. So these next 2 speakers, Lou Bragan and Karen Wilkinson, these guys have been with us from the start of 50 Things. They have been on the steering group and they have done a staggering amount of work to drive 50 Things forward. So thank you from me anyway, because you've been my rocks. And yeah, we'll let you guys, well, what I did want to say is also 50 Things, everyone thinks, oh, it's just early years, it's just to do with early years providers and things like that. But this will show you that it's not just that. 50 Things can be used in lots of different services and lots of different partners, okay? I'll let you guys go 15 minutes.
Shall I like you click and we'll stop? This is what we do best, teamwork.
Perhaps working on the basis of know what I'm doing.
Yeah, because called Planning Your Colleague. So I'm Louise.
Slide, please. I think it's a phrase we use.
Slide, please. I feel like Chris Whitty. So I'm Louise. I'm from Wakefield Museums and Castles. Next slide, please.
Gosh, that's me.
There you go. And if you haven't come to us or met us before, we are 3 local museums, Wakefield, Castleford and Pontefract, and also Sandal and Pontefract Castles. Quick hands up because it'll also get you moving. Who's been to Sandal Castle? Yes. Who's been to Pontefract Castle? About the same. Any of the 3 museums? Slightly less. Yeah, okay. Kind of what we expect. Museums and castles are, well, museums traditionally are quite hard to see when you've got small kids. The perspective is quite often that they're scary, big, dark places, and they have lots of things that you don't really understand. They're not scary, they're not dark, they might have things you don't understand. But that's kind of part of the really cool stuff about it, is that you don't have to know what the things are, you can just go in and ask questions and talk about them and find out about stuff. And when you've got littlies, mine are both teenagers, so museums are no longer cool. But when they were 2 to 5, they thought they were great, because they like massive, great big treasure boxes and exploring sites and things. So we do have dungeons. We are not allowed to keep kids in there. We get asked that a lot. We don't tend to go down into the dungeons with under 5-year-olds for health and safety reasons, because the steps, somebody's looking at me, so they've obviously been in there. But the steps are really, really steep, even for grown-ups and things. But we do have, you know, like hidden doors and what could be underneath it and what might be there. So again, all that inquiry and questioning aspects of learning. Next slide, please. These are just a few of the things that you could actually do when you visit our sites. There's quite a few listed there, and hopefully more than you might have thought when you initially look at that list of 50 things. You can hop, skip and jump in the middle of a museum, and if the staff tell you off, ignore them. It's absolutely fine. Shout and is probably not on there because they might not like that as much. But you know, we have crocodile footprints at Wakefield Museum that lead kids to the Cayman. At the moment, we're going to change those to bird footprints to change a part of the exhibitions and the displays in a little bit. But it's little things like they're set out a little bit further than a kid's stride. So in order to do that, they're going to have to jump. So do that. Don't just ask the kids to do it. Have a go yourself. You know, we're all kids once, and we stop at a certain age of questioning and playing and being playful. And I don't know why that is. There's something in your brain that says, that's stupid, don't do it anymore. But actually just do it, even if I haven't got a kid with you. I challenge you to do that. One of the big ones on there is also talking signs. So as a service, I know libraries and ourselves in museums over the last few years have been looking for the provision of Makaton to support communication. We're not experts in it, but we have had some training, some understanding, so we're now trying to embed that, not just in our staff's kind of learning and understanding, but also in terms of interpretation, display panels and things like that. Next slide, please. We've also developed a few kind of activity sheets and things that we have put on the app as downloads, but we also put them out sometimes in the museums too. So these are just a couple of examples. So the More Seaside Fun was for the Charles Peirce exhibition. So he was a local Pontefract-born artist who did some amazing kind of seascapes and seaside pictures. We had an exhibition about a year ago from those things. And to support families with younger people, because it's just big pictures by a person who's dead. But to invite them in, we just had those sheets online, so it's a couple of activities and ideas. And again, we partnered with libraries to put those little bits of reading lists and book lists on there. So again, it's that joint partnership work, but it also ties into that larger framework and strategy working. The pictures on that left-hand side, we have a little 1940 set at Wakefield Museum with really nice comfy chairs. The grown-ups can sit there while the kids go and play with the top picture of a recreated 1960s kitchen. The recreated 1960s kitchen is one of our amazing exhibitions staff recreated it and made it himself. It's modelled off a real 1960s unit. So we're using objects in the collections to inspire play and learning for young people. Pontefract Castle sensory exploration. We have Ilbert the dragon. I mean, you can't have a castle and not have a dragon, can you? So we have Ilbert. He's so named because the first person who requested the castle being built in Pontefract was Ilbert de Lacy. So he's the namesake of those. And looking at sensory inquiry, so making it really clear on that first sheet about what 50 things we can tick off when you come and do this. Next slide, please. And in April this year, I had the wonderful task of having to put together 2 days worth of activity for our annual dragon egg hunt. It was usually one, and management said, can we have 2 days? Yeah! Yeah, a bit difficult sometimes. So the first day we actually did a quiet, more relaxed opening day for families with SEND, any kind of provision that they needed there. And the second day was like the full-on mass kind of event. And again, libraries, we had Health Improvement come and join us. If you wanted to tick off See It Live, that was the perfect event to come and have a look at that. So my mate Dave, dressed as the knight, he does walk around like that quite a lot. Not in public, but for us. And we also had some Victorian dragon hunters, not to kill, but to explore who they were, kind of a bit like Harry Potter style. And we had time slots, so they could go and see these live kind of things. And again, you wouldn't normally go to a castle and think, I can see something kind of theatrical and amazing like that. But, 10-15 minute slots with these guys, fantastic. Hands-on crafts, you can see the concentration coming from that little dragon's face. And of course, Ilbert was there to be met. So again, another chance to see live, character costume, we've got all those in there. We will be doing Dragon Egg Hunt again next year, whether it's me that's having to lead on that one or whether I can delegate that one, maybe. But we will be doing that, and that is always in the Easter holidays. And again, Vicky from Wakefield Mumbler was also there as well, and she supports a lot of the activities that we do with those castles, bits and pieces too. We don't do a lot at Sandal Castle because we don't have a visitor centre. But you can come and explore around there. We can develop workshops, we can develop all kinds of content there. But if you want a nice space with a bit of dry room, then Pontefract Castle is more the space. Shall I do a quick and then let you take this? Yeah.
Can I manage without one of these?
No.
People who know me will be going, yes, she is.
It's because we're God, isn't it?
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, I'm Karen Wilkinson from Wakefield Libraries. And as Angie said, we've been involved in 50 Things right from the very outset. Certainly in terms of libraries, we saw how it connected with communities and communities that libraries are indeed the heart of. We could see how actually within Wakefield we have a lot of really high quality assets that families can get to, and that thread of low cost, no cost has run through everything that we've really tried to achieve. And I do remember those days when we were sat around our collective kitchen tables, dining tables, working remotely, trying to pull it all together and fill in that framework. And they were very interesting days when you're trying to distill thousands of books down into a list that is about 350, Amy? Something like that, yeah. So we're trying to work out where could we find some of the best books that would support the initiative as well. So yeah, they were really interesting days. So next slide, please. We've got 12 libraries in Wakefield, completely across the district. Our libraries are now hubs for 50 Things. You will find them decorated variously across the district. That's an example of one of our libraries, the top photograph there, where they just took some of the items and some of the segments from 50 Things and just gave examples for families who were visiting. So the idea is that our libraries are not just about, well, here you are, here you can do 50 things, but we're going to show you the items that you can do that 50 things. And then additionally, we're going to give you additional suggestions, because we can't always do post, but maybe we can show you an example of what postie is and give you an idea, and then let you go and do that yourself. We can, of course, read lots of lovely stories that involve postmen as well, but the idea is that it's not just about coming to the library where you can look at a book and share a story, but actually we're going to give you some tips and hints that you can take away as well. So that's really sort of where we've seen Wakefield as being. Yes, we did spend a lot of time curating the book list that went into the that is at the back of the app, simply because we wanted to ensure that we'd got some really, really good books on the list, and we wanted to ensure that they were available in libraries, because we thought that was key. Because if you're going to be low cost and no cost and say, this is a fantastic book, there's not much point if you haven't got it in your library. So that was one of the real key features for us. And also we wanted to ensure that for those people who chose not to use libraries, don't know why you wouldn't, but there you go, then these actually were also items that you could reasonably expect to be able to get possibly just one click away. Other companies are available. But that was the idea with them, is that the list was representative of the fantastic books that are out there for children. And also I think, well, for anybody looking at it, might just think that some of the titles on that list are a little bit unusual, in that we do like to surprise and delight in terms of the stories that we choose. And the story might have a little bit of a twist at the end, because actually, again, that's about ensuring that anything that we offer to our families, we have that opportunity to delight. That's what it's about. So yes, we have spent a lot of time curating that book list and continue to keep it updated, because that's the right thing to do as well. Books do change, new books come in, some books go out of print. So again, that is a job that is actually always ongoing, because it needs to look fresh and at least it needs to look new as well. Okay? There you go, see. 50 things in libraries as a destination. You thought we only did books, didn't you? No. We've been doing things more than books for a long time. And I think particularly in libraries, one of the things we need to do more of is to ensure that people in our communities see that actually libraries do more than books. We do not spend our days stamping books and putting them down again. There is so much more happening in our libraries. And in terms of 50 things, it means that we can actually use some of our cultural spikes in our year to highlight these things and draw even more people into our libraries. So for example, I mean, we've got to have sharing books on there, because we're libraries. We've also got rhyme time, because of course you can always burst into a song, and as anybody who has ever been to any of my presentations in terms of reading will know, you should always be able to burst into a song. You could do it now, but possibly not while you're home. So you can make a mark, because we might have some creative activities happening in our libraries. So you can make a mark in a library. We've certainly got rhyme times. You can make music. I mean, I think that's a brilliant one, and that's a brilliant example of partnership work in that number 7, making music. Because actually that's an event and a storytime event that's happening, but it's actually using space in Castleford Museum space, which is in the same building as the library. So again, it's utilising space jointly. So you can make music. Yeah, you can all share books. You see, you can dress up. I mean, just look, that was an example of... we had a brilliant exhibition, I was going to say wow, said the Albert, that was so last year. The Tiger Who Came to Tea exhibition at Pontefract. And that was part of the offer, was that ability to dress up. So we popped that one on there. Who would have thought you could go to Normanton Library and you could learn to dance round a maypole? But there you go, that's Normanton Library. That's what was happening in that session there for a particular event. See it live. We have lots of See It Lives happening in our libraries, special events. I think this winter, is it Vicky? It's Winter's Tale, isn't it? Fettle and Fable coming to our libraries. So there are lots of opportunities. Where's she gone? Lady from Wrenthorpe.
She's gone, she has.
Oh, that's why I couldn't see her. That's a bit of a worry. Right, when she was saying that parents don't get the opportunity to see it live, well, actually, if you keep your eyes open about what's happening across libraries, there are opportunities to see things live. They are there. And we have so much stuff happening in our libraries, particularly during the half terms and school holidays, but obviously our very now famous Word Festival in May 23, next one. And talking signs. My colleague Amy at the back is now hiding underneath the table. One of the things we do as part of our WordFest is actually we have something called a Makaton Rhyme Challenge. And so we challenge parents to learn a new Makaton rhyme sign each week. And at the end of it, you get a fantastic certificate. In addition to that, we will record the signs, and then we put them out there to support parents. So we're not only showing them live in a story time, but they can go back and can look at it in their own time. I've put that one of Amy up there, not just to embarrass her, but because you know that is a YouTube sensation. 13,000 hits that got. We bow to you. There you go, look, 43 animals nearby. I mean, there you go. We've got a snake. But is it possible? Oh, I'm so sorry. Will you let me off? Yeah. Oh, that's really... Yeah, so sorry. I'm on your leg. And actually, there are quite a few more we could have put on there, because certainly in terms of libraries, we have something called a cultural spike, and it lists all the festivals and events that are going to happen throughout the literary year. So, for example, you know, when it comes to Roald Dahl Day is just a shoo-in for Gigglebox, isn't it? So the idea is for us in libraries, and within our cultural spike, if you were to look at it, you would say, this is happening on this day, this is this festival, and then there's a little column at the side and it goes, linked to 50 things. And then that's where we put in there our links so that we can make it specific and clear to libraries that actually this is an activity that you can actually specifically relate to 50 things and you can hashtag it. So that we can actually alert people that don't know how to do Gigglebox, will come down to the library because do you know what, we've got a Gigglebox event. We've dressed it up as Roald Dahl Day, but actually it's a Gigglebox event, so we can work it that way. Is that it? Oh yeah, nearly. We have been working with 50 Things in Angie a very long time, and so therefore we do a lot of cross-working across what we do. So we were asked to do some work with launching 50 Things at Aspire. My colleague Amy goes across and delivers some library story time. The play, explore and more. We have our 50 Things book collection that libraries purchase that actually sits within the Aspire building. So that's all there. And again, the idea is, you really enjoying these books here? Go down to the library. Do you know we've got rooms full. So that's the cross-working there. Yeah, we got invited to the Dragon event, which was brilliant because if you looked really carefully at one of those images that Lou had got on there, actually you can see that we have both banners up there because wherever I go, and that relates to the bottom one there, is wherever I go and I take my book start, my library materials, then actually 50 Things is also going to be there as well because that's what we should be doing, is that cross-promotion. And then we had a lovely opportunity at Arundale Library. We had an event that was part of the BBC 100 Novels That Shapes the World. It was called Flight of Fantasy. And it meant that we could invite partners, because we've got a garden at Arundale Library. I mean, it tipped it down, which wasn't a help. But anyway, so then we were able to invite our partners in. So basically what we said to Angie and also to Dawn at the back there from Imagination Library is, would you like to have our garden for the day? You can use it. You can think of the things you could do in it. We had bug hunts, didn't we? We had just about everything in there. And that enabled us to show off our lovely garden. But it also meant that we could have that really great example of partnership working. Yeah, there you go. Follow us. There's a lot more in your libraries than you might think. Our museum colleagues, they are the experts in artefacts. They can tell you how to make anything historical look exciting. If you want to know anything about books and book curation, then you need to come to library. Thank
you. So that touches upon one of the activities that we're going to do. We've got just one more video presentation for 5 minutes and then I'll let you loose. But on your tables, on the first 6 tables actually, there are basically a flip chart, and I want you guys to do a little bit of mapping. So obviously you probably didn't realise that in museums and libraries you could do so many of the 50 Things activities. When we were at Aspire at the Park, we created this map of around Aspire at the Park of all the 50 Things activities you can do. So we could give one to a family and say, right, off you go, and you go to Pontefract Park and you can tick off 27 and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what we want to do is do one of these for all the areas, so the families have these and they can go out and tick off different activities. So what I've done is on each of the tables, I've got a flip chart and we're basing it around the family hub cluster areas. So you might live in the southwest of the district and you don't know anything about Wakefield Central, don't worry about that. But if you've got like, you think, I don't know, there's a lovely little antique shop that would be really interesting to take the kids to tick off number 50, Happy History, or there's a little park that's got a really nice sandpit. Stick it down on the paper and then hopefully we can do a bit of a mapping exercise and create maps for in and around different areas. So if you've been anywhere with your kids or you think, I think that'd be really good, just stick it on there, okay? Okay, last thing. So Rebecca Arundale, she is one of our childminders, Happy Bunnies Childcare. She couldn't attend today. Do you want to join it up? Yeah, right, then.
It's ready, just roll.
Is it sounding?
Oh, we'll see.
Oh. So obviously Rebecca couldn't attend today because she's looking after the children. Which obviously it's difficult with these events to choose a time and a day that suits everybody. So Rebecca has done some brilliant stuff with 50 things to do before 5, and she's very active on Facebook, so if you find her on there you'll be able to see what she's doing. But she's done a little video, just a quick 5 minutes, to see what she's been doing basically. Oh.
I'm Rebecca and I'm a childminder from South Kirby. I want to share how I use 50 things in my setting. I've been an ambassador for around 2 or 3 years, and I feel that 50 things is really embedded in our daily practice. I want to share with you how I use it on a daily basis. So as an outdoor practitioner, we spend lots of times in nature, so lots of the activities go hand in hand with the 50 things activities. I tick off quite a lot of them without even any planning, no thinking. Things like mark making outside, woodland wandering, the pitter patter, rain, sharing books, having picnics. They're things that we do really, really often, and the children absolutely love them. Some of the other things that are a little bit trickier maybe to include or need a little bit more planning, I basically magpied this idea from one of the 50 things Bradford ambassadors, I believe. So they suggested having a little jar, 50 things activities, with all the different ones written down, 2 different colours. The white ones are spontaneous, don't need any planning. The green ones might need a little bit more planning, and it's just a great way of hitting the ones that you might not normally hit, just because the children maybe aren't necessarily that interested in it at that point in time. So if I just show you an example of the white ones, the ones that don't need planning, number 18, dance. We can do that absolutely anywhere, and we do. We go to the woods and we either sing our own songs or have a bit of a woodland disco. It's really good. Nobody's generally around to see us, so that's fantastic. And an example of one of the ones that I might want to plan a little bit more is number 28, the wheels on the bus. I get the children to pick these out, so obviously they can help me with the planning, where they want to go. Do they want to go on the bus? Do they want to go on the train? And where should we go? What should we do when we get there? And for me, it just means that I've got a couple of days. I would generally do it that week, a couple of days to just make sure it works with the children I've got in that day, so I can plan the route, risk assess, that kind of thing. So that is a fantastic way to make sure that over the year you're not just doing the same activities over and over, but you're including all of them. Another way to include some of the activities that for me is really hard to do is, now that Buddy's established in the setting, he comes out with us every day, the children know him, love him, the parents know him really well. I'm going to start sending him home to cover some of the ones that I can't really do here, the nighttime ones, the looking at the stars, or the fireworks ones. I can't really do them in setting here, but I'm going to send Buddy home so he can go with the children and their families and hopefully have even more adventures, and they can send some photos back and maybe just a few words, and we're going to stick them in a scrapbook for Buddy on his other adventures. The way that I record using 50 things is really, really simple. Try not to do too much paperwork. I have a big floor book just behind me where I share the activities that we've done that week. This is out in setting all the time so the children can look back at it whenever they want. I just pop on a 50 things sticker and just write the activities that we've completed. And I use that. There's also in there one of the big posters, and I've got one on my wall where I just tick off the activity that we've done as a setting. And also the children all have their own individual wow books or their learning journeys, and in there I tick off any of the activities that they do as an individual. I do have different children in every day, different ages, so hopefully throughout their time here we will complete the 50 things. That's the aim, at least, with both with me and the parents. And I think that's how we use it every day. I just wanted to finish saying we absolutely love 50 things. I was really happy when I got invited to talk. I'm sorry we can't come to the event. It would have been lovely to celebrate with you all, but we'll be out on adventures with Buddy and our little children. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your celebrations.
So, just to sort of close up, have you all got a lot of your goodies, freebies? Yeah, okay, yeah, good. Okay. Obviously, we've said that we want to encourage people not to waste products in terms of doing their 50 Things activities, and we have all sorts of bits and bobs in our services, in our houses that we could use to do 50 Things. So, I've got a little challenge for some of you guys. So you'll see here these lovely jugs. We have had these jugs in our lockup for ages. So we're like, what better place to take them to the celebration event? And we fill these jugs up with random stuff that we have in our lockup that we're probably not going to use. So our challenge to you is take a jug and see what and how many 50 Things activities you guys can do. Okay, I know you're all really enthused about it, I can see, okay? But it's just a little challenge for you guys to have a go at. Either that or take it home and give it to your kids to play with, okay? Just we're not taking them out. So that's sort of the first challenge in that. On the second part of it, do you guys have any spare resources, any bits and bobs that you generally would throw away? Can you make up tiny little packs that you can go to the parents, go home, do something? You know, we might think, oh, you can't do anything with that, but a child might think they can, another parent might think they can, or a grandparent, or whatever. And then the other thought I had was, let's flip it a little bit. So I was going to do the bottle flip, but I thought, if I don't land it, it's not good. So I think a lot of the time, we've, regardless of what service we're in, we've been saying to families, can you go home and do number 27 this week, or can you do number 4, or whatever. So can we maybe pick a product from home, so it might be a pan, a sock, a jug, and say to families, okay, this week we're go get a sock, what 50 Things activities can you do with that sock? And you know, just so it's kind of giving them the ownership, giving them a bit of the creativeness and that imagination, rather than us being like, do this, because it might not always work for them in that time scale, in that activity. So that was just one of my random thoughts, because I have a lot of them to Okay, I'll just put this on at the end once I've finished. But I just want to say a massive, massive thank you for you all coming along. I really didn't expect people to actually turn up, so thank you for that, I appreciate it. I hope you've managed to take something out of this, apart from the free gifts. I hope you've been inspired and that you're wanting to really embed 50 Things in Wakefield. If you guys want to have a conversation with me or any of the other speakers, you want to link in with the libraries and museums or anything like that, just let us know, okay? We're more than happy to come and see you and have a chat and have a conversation. And if you've got any... I'm not started yet, Johnny. Pause it.
Joe told me to.
I thought you go to the next slide.
OMG. This one.
Next one.
Next slide.
Next one.
What the?
There you go.
Oh, crikey. Anyway, we will be sending out the online resources, so obviously we've got the stay and play packs the early years have made, the social media packs, and we'll send out the videos and the slides and everything else. On your receipt, you will, for the ticket, you will have received an evaluation, because we like to do evaluation. So please complete the evaluation. Again, we will resend that out. It's not long, it's literally like 5 questions, okay? And yeah, feel free to tag us in or bombard me, and as I bombard you a lot of the time. And yeah, thank you everyone, thank you very much. Clap yourself.